Good evening. Council acknowledges the Wadawurrung as traditional owners of this land, and I pay my respects to all elders past, present and emerging, and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are part of the Greater Geelong community today. This meeting is being broadcast on the internet, and the recording of the meeting will be published on Council's website. Welcome and good evening, everybody. Thank you again for tuning in. Councillors are meeting via Zoom again tonight, as is obvious, and we're very glad to have members of the community with us via the live stream. And I think our live stream numbers are about double during COVID, which is fantastic news. This is actually the final meeting of this council before we move into caretaker period at midday tomorrow in the lead up to the election on the 24th of October.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, your sound is just jumping all over the place. Do you want to try again?
Is that better from the very beginning? Okay.
From the top.
Apologies. Council acknowledges the Wadawurrung, traditional owners of this land, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are part of the Greater Geelong community today. This meeting is being broadcast on the internet, and the recording of the meeting will be published on Council's website. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Councillors are meeting once again via Zoom tonight, and we're glad to have members of the community with us via the live stream, and our numbers of viewers have actually doubled over the last few months, so that's really good news that people are able to do that and are clearly using it. Now, this is actually our final meeting of this council before we move into the caretaker period at midday tomorrow in the lead up to the election on the 24th of October. So we won't be meeting during this period except for one single meeting scheduled for the 20th of October, where we will consider the 2019-20 annual report. And this is because councillors can't make decisions during the caretaker period that could be seen to be influencing voters' intentions or that commit the council to expenditure exceeding 1% of annual income. There are also limitations on what the City of Greater Geelong staff can do and promote during the election period as well. However, councillors will continue their role and will continue to perform the role in line with the Local Government Act and the election period policy. The election period policy is on our website for anybody wanting to get a full understanding of how the next few weeks will work. And before we begin tonight, I'd just like to say a huge well done to the community for working so hard to achieve our active case numbers coming down with COVID and allowing restrictions to ease for regional Victoria. It's really exciting. There's been a huge wave of optimism since the announcement, I think not least helped by the warm weather, and it was really great to see everybody out in the sunshine over the weekend, enjoying themselves, supporting local businesses, which is really important as we know, and also sticking to the physical distancing and the mask wearing requirements. We do have a long road ahead to recover from both the economic and the social impacts of COVID, but this move to the third step allows us to make the start that we need to. And the support package that we're about to consider, which is our first item on the agenda tonight, will be our council's contribution to hopefully accelerating that process for businesses and the broader community, and it will add to the $12.8 million in support that we've already put through the chamber. So thank you, everybody, and with that, let's begin. Apologies, I have an apology from Councillor Contell this evening. Are there any other apologies that we need to note? I don't think there are. Any requests for leave of absence from councillors tonight? I don't think so. We actually have 3 sets of minutes to approve tonight. So may I please have a mover and seconder to confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 25th of August, 2020. Moved Councillor Grisbeck, seconded Councillor Mason. Thank you. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. May I also have a mover and seconder to confirm the minutes of the special meeting held on the 1st of September 2020. Moved Councillor Sullivan, seconded Councillor Mansfield. Thank you. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. And a mover and seconder to confirm the minutes of the Community Focus Council meeting held on the 8th of September 2020. Moved Councillor Murray, seconded Councillor Mansfield. Thank you. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Fantastic. Okay, declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any declarations of conflicts in relation to the agenda this evening? If there are, or if any arise during the meeting, please make them known. That would be great. Public question and submission time. Although we don't have members of the community here in the gallery, not even in the gallery, we can't have them on the screen with us, to ask questions or make submissions, we do accept these online, and we're really looking forward to being back in the gallery. Hopefully we might even be able to make that 20th of October meeting back in the chamber, which would be fantastic. But for this evening, we've received 2 questions and submissions, and each person has now received a response via email. It's also important to note that the councillors have all read the questions that are sent in, I won't read them out in full, but they're there for the record and for the sake of transparency. The following people have sent in questions and received a reply. Firstly, Sonia Van Hewitt. She sent a question in, quite a detailed question actually, about the climate change response plan. And secondly, Barry White also sent in a good question about the Yuyangs precinct master plan. Both of those issues will get a bit of a mention tonight. So hopefully both Sonia and Barry are listening and watching us tonight. Now we move on to petitions. Councillor Mason, I believe you have a petition to present tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. I do have a petition of 600 signatures from businesses and residents in Ocean Grove in relation to proposed changes in parking and the possible closure of the terrace in Ocean Grove. I have the petition here and I'll bring it into the city offices tomorrow. Okay,
thank you, Councillor Mason. I will just clarify, there is actually no proposed closure of anything at this stage. It was just a Facebook post sent by somebody and it hasn't actually got a formal proposal. So there's discussions going on that topic. Everybody's across that. The Business Association Ocean Grove is actually meeting tonight and discussing that exact issue. So thank you for bringing a petition, Councillor Mason. That's really good. Secondly, we move into the reports section, section B. And the first item on the agenda is the COVID Community and Economic Support Package, to be moved by Councillor Sullivan and seconded by Councillor Aitken. Thank you, Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have before us this evening a recommendation to seek council approval for a further COVID-19 community and economic support package. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic and declared state of emergency has had a significant impact on the community and economy. Excuse me. All of the community and all businesses are impacted by what is happening around us. There's been some significant help from the federal and Victorian governments. However, we do have our role to play as well. The council has endorsed support packages in March, April and June this year, along with last August as well. We put another package to accumulate $12.8 million to assist businesses, community groups and residents within our entire municipality. Now, the council endorsed support packages are in addition to the many services that the city provides as part of its relief and recovery responsibilities to the community. This includes helping out our most vulnerable in response to such emergencies. The council and the city have considered a range of further relief opportunities as the ongoing impacts of COVID-19 are felt, and they're still evolving and coming out. We're still dealing with this as it comes to us. These initiatives here are informed by feedback from community, businesses, by reviewing existing initiatives, considering what the Victorian and federal government support measures are doing, how best we can fit ourselves into that mix. The value of this proposed package is $4.177 million, bringing the city's total direct financial support in response to COVID-19 to over $16.9 million. The key aspects of the package include support for businesses into 2021 with fee waivers, support for outdoor dining and street activation, grants to support businesses to recover, and investment in planning to support jobs growth. For community and sporting groups, an extension to the rent waiver provides them greater certainty in terms of costs as they plan for the next 6 months, and further grant opportunities as well here. But just getting into the specifics of this package here, and I'm sure Councillor Aitken will extend that further, we're extending the waiver of rent for community and sporting groups within city-owned land, grounds and buildings until the 31st of March 2021. This has an estimated value of over $415,000. $30,000 towards gender COVID-19 impact analysis, very important. $110,000 for the Lara Aquatic Centre early season opening for October. Developing community garden guidelines, and $20,000 towards establishing community gardens. $25,000 to enhance digital access for the community, because nobody should be left behind in these times. We're also supporting a round 2 to the COVID-19 quick response community grants. These are vital for our community. We're also endorsing the food registration fee waiver for 2021, estimated value of $1.32 million. Health premise fee waivers for next year as well. A-frame fee waivers, alfresco fee waivers, $10,000 for short-term parking, $30,000 towards key town centre activation surveys. This will really help us, know what's going on in our city centre and how we can activate it further post what's going on now. A really big important one behind though is $885,000 planning for jobs initiatives and supporting small business through fast-tracking planning processes and business concierge support, waiving planning permit fees for small business and applications, and bringing forward strategic planning employment projects. We really need to be, when we're talking to our community, how can we assist, how can we move forward? We should not want to be hindering in any way. We want to be pushing as much as we can. An extra $155,000 in additional funding towards the COVID-19 arts, culture and heritage recovery grants. Extraordinarily proud of that. Those are fantastic for what our community needs. And I'm sure everybody will have a lot to say about this, so I'll probably wrap it up there. But I'm happy to support this recommendation, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Councillor Aitken.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sullivan. Well summarised. What I actually just wish to talk about is the financial impact on the council first and the community. And look, it is significant. It's, as Councillor Sullivan has mentioned, it's a total now of $16.9 million. And I think that actually just shows the strong commitment that the council has to the community of Geelong and the business community of Geelong. And we are extremely supportive of what we're attempting to do to try to assist the Geelong community and the business community. And so we are prepared to wear that responsibility of $16.9 million. What I just wish to touch on is that this is our fourth community and business support package that we've actually developed. And the significance of this one is that it's actually been very much led by the council group in response to communities' needs and business needs. I'll allow individual councillors to speak on their areas that they had input into. But what I'm really excited about is the Planning for Jobs initiatives, which is just under $1 million that Council's actually announcing tonight. This is actually to change our focus from relief to recovery. We've very much focused over the last 4 months to be in relief and support mode, but Council recognises the importance of moving to a recovery phase. And I'm really pleased that for the first time in our support packages, we actually are focused in our planning responsibilities. And as Councillor Sullivan has actually touched on, myself and the planning team in Council have worked extremely hard to develop this package that's been brought forward to the Council tonight. So I personally want to thank Joanne Van Slageren in our statutory planning department, Jess in strategic planning, and the director, Gareth, in terms of Smith, in terms of his involvement. It wasn't easy for us to work out what we could do in planning to help support packages associated with COVID. But I'm really pleased that we are announcing tonight dedicated fast-track planners for small business applications. We're going to try and streamline the processes and support employment-generating projects. And there's a whole commitment to try to make it easier for small businesses to get planning applications in the city of Greater Geelong now for at least the next 2 years. So this isn't just a short process. This is actually a 2-year commitment that we're actually going to put more resources into our planning section in the city of Greater Geelong to help better approvals process, to help small business planning permit fee waivers, to bring forward strategic planning employment projects within the city of Greater Geelong. And there's an immense number of those. We are putting additional resources into the Avalon Corridor strategy, the Northeast Industrial Precinct, because what we want to do is we want to be able to, the business community investors in Geelong to understand that we are open for business and we are now focusing on a recovery stage in terms of where council sees its responsibilities and where it can have a significant impact to address COVID-19. So this package tonight, I endorse it to all councillors. I hope the community thanks us for all the supports that we're actually doing. I encourage councillors to identify the areas where they have been associated with.
Thank you, Councillor Aitken. You nearly got it finished before you got muted. Councillor Mansfield.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. Look, I thank the team for putting together another great package and fellow councillors for all their input to this. I think it's a great addition to the previous support packages we've put out there. Some of the areas that I was really pleased to see in the package included the support for digital access. This is something that has come up through some of our advisory committees, including the Kalanit Aboriginal Advisory Committee. That was something that was suggested, that there are members of the community in the Aboriginal community who are having some difficulty with connecting to various services and just, you know, we're so reliant on technology now to connect to each other, but we're having some difficulties due to technology and access. And so hopefully that will go some way to improving access for some members of our community. The gender impact analysis, I think, is a really important piece of work. We're hearing more and more about the gendered nature of the impact of COVID on our communities. Women are disproportionately affected for a whole range of reasons, and are bearing, in many ways, I guess, carrying a larger burden in a lot of areas. So I think this gender impact analysis will be really important to helping us direct future support packages, future programs of this council, to ensure that we are addressing the needs of our community. And finally, the community gardens. This is something that I think all of us have been hearing a lot about. Everyone's been getting into their gardening a lot more during the lockdown periods, but they've also been looking around their neighbourhoods and I think really directing their focus in a more to their local areas and thinking about how they can build their communities. And community gardens are a great way to do that on so many levels. There's a lot more interest in local food production, local composting, all these sorts of things, as well as just connection with other people can come out of a community garden. So it's great to see this. This is just a little, I think, starter for community gardens. I have a feeling we're going to be hearing and seeing a lot more in this space in the coming months and years. But I think it was great to see that in this package.
Great, thank you, Councillor Mansfield. Councillor Manning, then Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I'll just make a comment just on one item because they've all been well covered by Councillor Sullivan and others. I'd just like a bit of a call out to businesses. Right across the municipality, we talk a fair bit about the businesses in the CBD, which are enormously important, as we all know, but that we have businesses right throughout. And as they all start to go back to work and consider what their future, some businesses may believe that they need to slightly tweak their business model and their offering to the public, especially those who feel that they've been impacted on by the vast increase of online trading that will possibly have on their businesses. So there possibly are opportunities within these packages for businesses to look at that and get some assistance. So yes, you're going back and opening up again, but have a look at what the opportunities of the future, and hopefully we can provide some support if you decide on a certain course of action where you want to tweak your model. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Manning. Councillor Murray.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, there's a couple of items there that I wanted to highlight, and Councillor Mansfield has spoken about one, the community gardens. I've been involved with a couple of groups, and these are volunteers, and more often than not are on the waiting list for community gardens that exist now. So I'm aware of a couple of groups, and they're always looking for community grants to help them set up a community garden and look for a piece of land to be able to do it. So this $20,000, I think, will be a nice kick along for those two groups. They certainly are looking forward to tonight's announcement. And and what Councillor Mansfield has said too is so true, that I think we've all turned our attention to the garden more so in the last few months than perhaps we ever have. I know I have, and I know others have done also. And the importance of community gardens, in the immediate future and in the long term will be so important. So it's exciting that there's some money there towards that, and it'll be put to good use, I'm sure. And the other item is the outdoor dining and activation initiatives. There's money there from the state and from the council, and I really hope that the council officers are really brave and with this item, because the opportunities that could exist, where there's groups of cafes and maybe a hotel, and they could get together and maybe block off part of the road or all of the road for certain hours in a day, to really encourage people to use the cafes and restaurants and get back into the hospitality area and then spend some money, because these businesses have been doing it so hard. And, we hope that we are able to cut through the red tape a lot easier than what it has been in the past. So these initiatives are good for the business, and we hope the public support them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Any other councillors? Councillor Grisbeck, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. Just a couple of things to touch on. Most of it has been said. Look, one of the things that the local people are very, very, very excited about is the early opening of the Lara Pool. I see in the paper here we've got some times that we've said we will open, and that's a good start. I would encourage the community, if this is passed tonight, to give us the feedback on the timings, whether they're right and they're suitable for people. I understand October is normally fairly warm, so hopefully it won't be too cold in there, but I'm sure that there are many people that are really looking forward to that pool being open. The rent waiver, which provides more certainty for the summer sporting groups, which is really important. And as Councillor Aiken had said, more resources for the Avalon Corridor Study and the North East Industrial Precinct. That'll bring forward that strategic planning work to facilitate the development. There's a hardship policy extended waiver in there. This is the interest waiver extended to the 30th of June 2021, but you must contact the city to make those arrangements. But that's a really important piece as part of this. And as all the other councillors have said, it is a mash of everything that we can think of that the community has given us the information for, what City of Greater Geelong can do to help the recovery after this. So thank you to all the community members that have contacted me, and thank you to the officers for all of that hard work, because I know it's really hard. And I also wanted to say to other councils, because we are getting some feedback that other councils are saying, gee, what Geelong is doing is absolutely amazing. How are we going to keep up? So I apologise to other councils for our thoroughness, but I think it's the best thing for our community, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Here, Deputy Mayor. I'm getting the same sort of feedback. It's definitely leading the pack. Well done, Greater Geelong. Any other councillors wish to speak on this one? Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. I also applaud all that have put into this set of packages, which is about 4.2 million extra, and it's now added onto our deficit, really, of about 16.9 million. It's added to that, and it's really been we've thought of this in a sober way, and it's really very important that we've done this. But we do have to be mindful of that deficit, and it's really, really good that these measures have been well targeted and well designed and well thought out, and I really fully applaud them. And of course the state and federal support has helped us a lot there, with the 500,000 and the 7.4 million that we got to support those things. So in particular, one thing that hasn't been mentioned is the COVID-19 gender impact analysis. So I support that, and I'm very happy that the rapid response projects have been extended, and the waivers for community sporting and health tenants have also been extended. I would, though, please like to reflect upon the free parking initiatives, where 7.4 million of those funds that we've committed is about 43% of our total package. And I believe that could have been more strategically targeted, and we could have better used our installed high-tech digital parking meters, which are currently lying dormant. But anyway, I think I really applaud this new package, and I fully endorse it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Any other comments on this one before I go back to Councillor Sullivan to close? Thanks, Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to all my fellow councillors for all their words of support on this package. It just goes to show what a well-rounded support package this is. There's something there for everybody, all members of our community, every cross-section that we represent. And that is really what local government is about. And just another way that this council is supporting, our community in all levels. Councillor Aiken was right. When we had the first package go through many, many months ago, the words were, this won't be the last. There are going to be many, many more steps to this. And this just goes to show how many steps we've taken. And how we are starting to angle, our lens now towards not just relief, but now towards steps of recovery. So I'm very heartened by all the good words. I'm very heartened by this work. Thank you to all the officers as well for the hard time into this. And I'm happy to move the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. It's an excellent motion, and we'll put this one to the vote. So all those in favour? Those against? Carried. Very exciting way to leave our council. Item 2 is the Amendment 366 GGEE and Permit 6/2017, 64 to 66 Princess Highway and 1 Donnelly Avenue, Norlane, the adoption and recommendation to issue permit. To be moved by Councillor Grisbeck and seconded by Councillor Aitken. Thank you, Councillor Grisbeck.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This item, we're considering the submissions in relation to the exhibition of the amendment, C366 GGE, funny that's there, and the draft permit and the recommendation to the Minister to grant the permit. This land is on the corner of Princess Highway and Donnelly Avenue in Norlane, and this amendment attempts to remove the restrictive covenant which burdens that land at 64 Princess Highway, Norlane, which prevents more than one dwelling on the site. Once it's removed, then we'll be able to develop the 10 units on the 3 existing titles. This has been through many submissions and objections, and it's been an ongoing process for a little while. And to their credit, the owners and developers have addressed every single concern from the community and also the city in reducing, and they've also reduced the number of units from 12 through to 10. There are currently no outstanding concerns, and all things have been withdrawn. The community is very happy with the work that has been done with the owner and the developer, and council can now recommend this adoption through to the Minister. So nothing further on this one, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Grisbeck. Councillor Aitken.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Grisbeck and Mayor Asher. Look, I just wish to add that this is actually a major private investment in Norlane, which we welcome out in the north. It reflects that that there is opportunities for people to invest in our northern suburbs and actually create opportunities that provide benefit to the community. This one is a good example of that, and I'm pleased too that the developers have actually tried to work with the local community in particular to reduce the number of units down from 12 to 10. But this housing stock and this investment in Norlane, which is private, is fantastic, and I really encourage anybody that is looking for ways of making some capital return and some interest return in Geelong at the present time to look to the northern suburbs and to look at Norlane in particular. There's some really good opportunities for you to invest your money, provide benefit to the community, and also get a financial return yourself as well too. So come out to the north and invest.
Great, thank you, Councillor Aitken. Any other councillors wish to comment on this one? Back to Deputy Mayor Grisbeck to close.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just in closing, as I say, this developer has been very patient with the city, and we appreciate the patience because the outcome is the best one for the community. It's the best one we could have asked for. So thank you to our planning team for persisting, and thank you very much to the owner for persisting as well. And as Councillor Aiken has said, this investment in this part of Norlane is welcomed with open arms. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Well said, Deputy Mayor Grisbeck. Okay, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Okay, item 3 is making an order in relation to dogs in public places on land managed by Barwon Coast Committee of Management Incorporated, to be moved by Councillor Sullivan and seconded by Councillor Mansfield, I believe. Thank you, Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we have before us now a recommendation to authorise the making of an order that sets out the rules applying to dogs in public places on land managed by Barwon Coast Committee of Management Incorporated. At Council's May meeting, we resolved to note the findings of the community consultation process regarding the draft orders for BCCM land. We resolved to seek endorsement from BCCM of the amended draft orders we put forth, noting our recommendation in regards to Ocean Grove Main Beach. Since our decision, officers and councillor representatives have engaged with BCCM to seek a shared position of both entities regarding the finalisation of orders. The BCCM and the city support orders that we both support orders to include a 1-year trial period of dog restrictions on the Ocean Grove Main Beach, mentioned as Area D, consistent with our resolution. The proposed orders for the BCCM land is included in the report here. In addition to this 1-year trial, subsequent to that 1-year period, it is also recommended the Council agrees in principle to a second trial period of Area D that includes the area being prohibited, a dog-free zone, for 12 months. Both 1-year trials will be subject to BCCM and the city undertaking independent community engagement to obtain feedback on both trials. So we're sort of trying out what we put forth in our amended recommendation, and therefore what BCCM originally had in their draft orders. But the second-year trial will be subject to a future decision of Council in late 2021 to amend the orders we put forth now to include a prohibition of dogs from Area D to enable the second year of that trial. This Council report will include the community engagement results of the year that we had put forth. So the authorisation of the making of the order will complete the process of legitimising a dog control order on BCCM land for the 1-year trial period ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Councillor Mansfield.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Councillor Sullivan has outlined, what this item seeks to do really is put forward a trial for a 12-month period, and then a subsequent trial with a slightly different one. But in both processes, as Councillor Sullivan has said, we'll be seeking community feedback. We've sought a lot of community feedback up to this point and really listened to it. As we're all very familiar, this is a really difficult issue. There are strong feelings on all sides when it comes to dogs on beaches, and there is merit in everyone's argument. So it's a tricky, it's tricky to get the right balance between, community health and safety when it comes to being, protected from dogs, but also their health and well-being, being able to get out on the beaches and let their dogs run free and socialise, and all the benefits that come from that. There's also an environmental aspect that has to be considered, in particular damage to protected species. So, and adding to the complexity in this situation is that we've got there are different entities involved in the discussions around this. So I think what's been put forward here is a reasonable compromise. We'll try it out, but I'd really encourage any of the community out there who are passionate about this to really consider how they're finding this these particular restrictions, and provide the feedback when the consultations take place during these two trial periods.
Thank you, Councillor Mansfield. Any other councillors want to talk about this one? Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. I'll fully endorse what's just been said. I'll just quickly say it's all about sharing our shores, and there is a complex array of stakeholders, and we've got to try and satisfy all those complex needs. It's not easy, and I think really an ongoing process of consideration and consultation will be helpful. So let's a test of time take care of this, and let's hope that the new council will be able to review this in an ongoing way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Any other councillors want to talk to this one? I'll quickly just say that I support the dog orders as we originally supported them, which was 98% of the orders were actually, I thought, fairly represented, but the dog-free area of the beach was the part that the community had given me a lot of feedback about. So I'm glad that we're certainly responding to that for the next 12 months. I do have concerns about making promises for a future council to honour. So I do have a little bit of a concern about that. And I did state that in the meeting with Bowen Coast as well. In principle, I actually support what we put through the chamber beforehand. So I'm not particularly supportive of this item, but I will go along because I can only do what within our sphere of control, which is now, and what happens in 12 months' time is up to the new council. So if anyone else wants to make any comments, they can. Otherwise, I'll go back to Councillor Sullivan to close. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Nothing further to add.
Okay, so we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Okay, item 4 is the Planning Committee review, to be moved again by Councillor Sullivan, I believe, and seconded Councillor Mason as Planning Committee Chair and Deputy Chair. Thank you, Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In our July meeting in 2019, we resolved to revise the terms of reference for the Planning Committee. This involved removing the Development Hearing Panel Special Committee. Further to that, a review was to be undertaken 12 months from the decision to consider the effectiveness of the revised terms of the Planning Committee. We also noted that an appropriate internal protocol would be established by management to provide effective oversight of officer recommendations for refusal. To further improve clarity of the Planning Committee terms of reference, the following amendments are recommended for inclusion. That the term submissions be included into a trigger word for councillors to call in planning permit applications with 6 or more objections or applications for refusal. This allows submissions to informal advertising of applications to be considered. To also include updating definitions, including adding a planning registrar. To include an alternate hearing process for planning committee meetings as required for remote meetings so we can hold them online. To update the information to provide councillors, including the planning registrar and the list of applications to be reviewed by the decision-making committee, and that when calling in an application to the planning committee, a councillor must give a reason for doing so. So in all, what that means is that, over 12 months ago, we made some changes to the planning committee, how they operate. We came back to, or we decided to review in 12 months. It's been 12 months, we've had a review, and these are some minor updates which we're planning on including in that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mayor Asher, and thank you, Councillor Sullivan. I think Councillor Sullivan's explained it really well. It's been widely acknowledged that the revised structure has contributed to the efficiency and consistency in assessing applications. And there's been other benefits have included reduced time and cost by applicants, objectors, and the city. Mayor, the decisions hearing panel has now been removed and there's a decision-making committee instead. It's been established to provide oversight of officer recommendations involving a refusal and or 6 or more objections. The term submissions has also been added to the trigger for councillors to call in a planning permit. This allows a response to informal advertising and will be included into the number for a 6 objection trigger. Retaining the planning committee and allowing all councillors the option to call in applications will provide a public forum for applicants and objectors or submitters to be equally heard. As Councillor Sullivan said, the further modifications seek to clarify the terms of reference and will minimise any risk of misinterpretation. The TOR have also been updated to include providing councillors with a fortnightly planning register of all new applications lodged, including any requests to amend planning permits. And further, each week councillors will be provided with a list of applications to be reviewed by the decision-making committee that week. So councillors will still have an opportunity to call in an application before a decision is made. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Any other comments on this one? Seems like planning is a fairly tight little council group there. Councillor Sullivan to close.
Nothing further to add. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, great. We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Okay, item 5 is restricting vehicles in Little Mallet Street, alternative access options, to be moved by Councillor Murray and seconded Councillor Sullivan. Councillor Sullivan? Correct? Okay. Councillor Nelson?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move a deferral, please.
Okay. All those in favour of a deferral?
We need a seconder to a deferral. Sorry.
Second the deferral. Do I have a seconder for the deferral?
I'm happy to second that deferral then. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay. All those in favour of deferral for item 5? 8, 6. Those against? 1, 3. Okay, the deferral's carried. Thank you. Okay, item 6 is the Geelong Central Business District Engagement Task Force, the findings report. This one's to be moved by Councillor Aitken and seconded by Councillor Sullivan. Is that correct? Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Aitken.
Thank you very much, Mayor Asher. Look, it is a shame that Councillor Contal is an apology tonight, because this is actually an initiative that was led by him through a notice of motion, and he would be very pleased with the outcome that has been presented to the community tonight about this particular project and initiative. What has been fantastic about this, that it's turned out to be a very valuable tool of engagement, because it has provided significant feedback to the council in areas that the community, in particular the business and investment community, has said that council needs to concentrate on and highlight. And I'm also encouraged too that most of the participants have actually committed to future engagement as well too, Mayor Asher. So they've seen the value in this project as well too. And what should be remembered is that this was specifically targeted towards those who are the investors in the CBD of Geelong. And without their investment, we wouldn't have the significant return that is being seen, in particular in the Little Mallet Street West strip. That is, the state and federal governments and council are investing significantly in the roadways and bike paths and beautification works associated with the CBD, but without the business community investing, it all becomes naught. And what we do know is that the Little Mallet West area is actually our most significant rejuvenation investment area in the centre of Geelong. And as a consequence, it is important to be asking those investors what environment they need and what they can assist in terms of decision making in the future for the council. It is pleasing that an interesting reading as well too, when you look at the report will be available on the council's website after tonight's meeting for members of the general public to have a look at it. But there are quite some significant ideas that the task force members have actually brought forward in this engagement and feedback process. And some of those have actually been reported on in the local media today. And it is good that they're actually, the business community in particular and investors are actually asking us to consider to benchmark our rates against neighbouring municipalities, to review our commercial rates against regional cities as well too. And they are starting to ask significant questions about the value of the central business marketing levy. And that doesn't mean to say that it doesn't have value, but it is good that the people actually paying it are actually showing interest in that particular levy and what value they actually believe. So I think that gives me encouragement for the future council, because essentially this information is now available for the future council. If they wish to take up some of the ideas that have been expressed by the CBD task force, and also take up the opportunity to use this as a model for future engagement for the investor community, because they have embraced it quite significantly with the numbers that participated in it and the numbers that have said they wish to continue. And hopefully they will be able to make a contribution to the diverse ideas and views that are needed to help revitalise and revive the CBD of Geelong. Mayor Asher.
Thank you, Councillor Aiken. Well expressed. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not quite sure I can add too much onto what Councillor Aiken has said there and summarised this whole process. This is another example of how serious this council is taking community consultation, not just on residents, but industry leaders as well. The CBD and revitalising it has been a long-standing project we've all been involved in. So some more information for people at key stakeholders can never go away. So I'm fantastic. I'm very glad that we've got these results back, all these noted suggestions and whatnot from the task force. The next council will be able to put these to good use, hopefully, into consider them with everything else that comes towards us. But just very glad again that we've got some more information from some more voices within the CBD. Thank you.
Great. Councillor Sullivan, well said. Any other comments on this one? No? I think most of us sat in on at least one or two of these sessions, and they were really interesting and very well represented and very broad range of ideas. So I personally was very interested to see the flurry of sticky notes that was in play during the meeting. So it was good to get all that feedback. So back to Councillor Aiken, if no one else has got anything else to add. Councillor Aiken, please.
Thanks, Mayor Asher. Look, the only thing I wish to add is actually thank the officers involved with this. The CBD on Central Activities team, led by Mark Gallen, has actually done a fantastic job to engage in such a short time frame with this particular project. But it certainly gives me confidence about how the council administration actually embraces ideas and views of the council group and actually put it forward a commitment towards engagement and participation, which is what happened here. It was unique in the way we were doing this because it was during COVID-19 restrictions, and they came up with some really good ways at which members of the business community could participate in that discussions and record their involvement and participation. So thank you to all the officers involved in this project, and I'm heartened to see that they're also recommending that it should continue in the future and as an engagement model for the city of Greater Geelong as well too. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Aiken. Okay, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Okay, item 7 is transparency, the public register of developer meetings, to be moved by Councillor Aiken, although I believe you would like to move a deferral.
Yes, please, Mayor Asher. I'd like to defer this item to the next council for consideration. Yeah.
May I have a seconder for that deferral? Councillor Grisbeck, thank you. Okay, all those in favour that this be deferred? Thank you. Those against? Carried. Okay, item 8 is the proposed sale of Part 11 Macquarie Court, Corio, to be moved by Councillor Grisbeck.
Mayor Asher, if I might also request a deferral. If I just might have 2 seconds. Look, I am requesting a deferral on this matter. I think we need to get some more time to get the right outcome for the community. I don't want to rush it through before caretaker.
Okay, can I have a seconder for that deferral? Councillor Aitken. Okay, all those in favour of deferring this one? Yep, thank you. Those against? Carried. Okay, item 9 is the Sustainability Advisory Committee Terms of Reference. I'll actually be moving this one to be seconded by Deputy Mayor Grisbeck. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Look, this one's fairly obvious. It's a terms of reference for the sustainability of the committee that we asked for as part of the Sustainability Framework and Action Plan. The community was very, very keen during the consultation to make sure that they could be part of it. Certainly specific groups and individuals gave us repeated feedback that they would like to help shape what the city does in this area, and not just in the environmental space, but also in the social space and the economic management and the transparency and accountability realm as well. So these terms of reference essentially set out how the committee will be created. There'll be an advertisement put out by the City of Greater Geelong seeking applications. There'll be selection criteria and a position description. The council will be seeking a broad composition, so between 8 and 12 people, I think, is what we've set out, plus councillors, plus council officers. So really looking for people with a very broad range of expertise, broad range of interests to be able to feed into the sort of the triple bottom line approach that we're seeking at the City of Greater Geelong now. There will be a minimum of 4 meetings a year, so the requirement is at least quarterly. But certainly, and this relates to Sanya Van Hewitt's question tonight about the climate change response plan and whether people can be involved, there can be working groups underneath this advisory committee on specific topics. So that the 8 to 12 people on the Sustainability Advisory Committee is one group, but then there can be working groups that may involve other people as well. So this council is very interested in having community involvement. We're very keen to hear what the community wants, and we also want to seek consultation from people who have knowledge and expertise, and we know that there's a lot of people out there with that expertise. The reports will come from each of those meetings. There'll be a secretariat provided by the council, and that'll feed into the annual sustainability report that the City of Greater Geelong will be providing. So while this particular advisory committee doesn't have a budget, they will be able to advise on budget issues. And we know that this is an underfunded area of City of Greater Geelong traditionally, particularly in the environment team. There does seem to be a real desire within the City of Greater Geelong to now unite all those efforts across every area of the business and make sure that we can look at everything through the economic, the environmental and the social lens. So it's a very exciting beginning, and it'll be a really interesting group of people that we do get together into the future. So we'll watch with great interest. If there's anything other people would like to add, I will stop there. So Councillor Grisbeck, you can take over.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One more thing to add is that if this is accepted tonight, that we will commence the expressions of interest in early November. So look out for those if you're really interested and passionate. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good point. Thank you. Other councillors would like to comment on this one? No, fairly self-explanatory. I'll just leave it there. It's very clear, and I thank the team for getting onto this too, because it was a fairly short time frame and it was definitely a response to community feedback. So thank you to the team for putting this together so quickly. So we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Excellent. So item 10 is the Northern Arc project update, funding to progress to shovel-ready status and name it. So maybe Northern Arc will be the last time we hear that for a while. To be moved by Councillor Aitken and seconded by Councillor Grisbeck. Thank you, Councillor Aitken.
Thank you very much, Mayor Asher. Look, this is an opportunity to move this advocacy project to the next level. We have about $800,000 to finish and complete the final designs associated with the Northern Aquatic and Community Hub Centre. And it's also pleasing to use that name. That's going to be the new working title for this project. And what has led us to this stage is our advocacy with both our state and federal government colleagues, who have actually said to us that the best chance that this project has in the next few years anyway to be able to seek funding from our state and federal governments is as a COVID-19 recovery investment project within the City of Greater Geelong. And what we are actually endorsing tonight is that if we commit to the $800,000 as councillors to complete the final stage, if we commit to change the working title of the name to clearly articulate what this project is in terms of the Northern Aquatic and a Community Hub. It will assist our state and federal colleagues with their advocacy work to make this the priority project in the city of Greater Geelong for any COVID-19 packages that become available at both the state and federal government levels. And just to remind people what this project is about, this is a $61 million investment into Norlane. This is the largest investment that has been proposed by the City of Greater Geelong outside of the CBD of Geelong. And this embraces a total rebuild of the Norlane water world and establishing an aquatic centre which has learn to swim, lap pools and recreational facilities such as slides. It also establishes a health and wellbeing centre which will have a hydrotherapy pool to assist our aged and disability community in particular. It will also have fitness and allied health facilities associated with the Health and Wellbeing Hub. And the last component that probably isn't getting enough attention, but it deserves to be, and that is that the third component of this proposal is to develop the largest community hall and a multi-purpose event centre in the CBD of Geelong, in the northern suburbs of Geelong. So that is a 450 plus event and community hall attached to this facility. So I commend the work that the officers have done. I thank our state and federal colleagues for giving us advice about how we can improve the advocacy associated with this project. And this is Geelong's most significant COVID-19 investment opportunity for our state and federal governments to participate and put new money into the Geelong region. And I'm really proud that that opportunity exists in our northern suburbs area and in particular in Norlane.
Great, well said, Councillor Aiken. Councillor Grisbeck.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Councillor Aiken has said most of the things that I had little written on my list. So, look, I just wanted to also thank the CEO, Martin Cutter, for bringing this report through to us. It was really an amazing, collaboration between the officers, the councillors and our federal and state colleagues to get to this point. We're really proud of this particular project, and I think that this has a real opportunity for people in the northern suburbs, but also the new growth areas on the western side of Geelong, the northern and western growth areas. This is going to be a real regional project. It's really important. The Norlane water world is close to a lot of people's hearts, and they are just waiting for that to be open very, very soon after COVID. But this is a really important project that actually links what we've already started in the Barwon Health North precinct to link those services through to the hydrotherapy pool, as Councillor Aiken has said, and all of those suites of opportunities that happen. And I think, we will have the slides, hopefully. The slides will be back. But the library is the final stage of this project. It's not included in this particular, not in the first, second stages. But this is going to be a real opportunity for the community to have a real hub and a meeting space for this community. So we are really excited about it. And I hope that this allows this to finally be funded in some way. And we really, as Councillor Aiken had said, thank all of our state and federal colleagues of both persuasions for helping us get to this point. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Grisbeck. Councillor Harwood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think also we have to acknowledge the community as a whole, from the community leaders, G21, Committee for Geelong, Chamber. There was a whole raft of organisations and people that got behind the Northern Arc, the project, and the advocacy of it. So this has been a real large community voice behind this particular project. And I think it's now, the fact that we've had COVID, we might have to use COVID as a means to get the funding. Well, so be it, I guess. I mean, we'll take it any way we can. We just need this particular infrastructure done. And we've been saying this now for a number of years. I think it's important that it stays as our number one project for Geelong in general, in particular the north, as has been articulated. But I think also, we have a state election next year. Sorry, we have a federal election next year. It's an opportunity for the feds to match the city's 20 million, which would get us started. We could actually start the project, which then you would think the state government would fall into line and help finish it. So that you'd think that would be a logical process to go through in a chronological kind of way, with the money up front to do at least stage one, and then I guess force the state to come in and help finish the project, and then it is a three-way win for all, and in particular the win for the northern suburbs. But we'll see how it unfolds, but our advocacy remains strong, and that's important.
Thanks, Councillor Harwood. Any other councillors want to have a talk about this one? I'd also like to say thank you to all the state and federal MPs and to our Windermere Ward councillors who have been absolutely tireless in this and pushing this, and also to our CEO and team for finding a solution, because for all the meetings that we've had, we kept coming to that sticking point of it's just too much money and how do we package this up when it's such a great project. I must say Brimbank was a really good at breaking the seal for us, because a couple of people went and had a look at that and saw how successful that was, that facility there. So it's been a really exciting project to be part of, to work out how to shape it. And it really does mean that this is us putting our sort of money on the table to get it to the point where people can digest it and start to think about making it a reality. So congratulations to everybody involved for bringing it to this point and actually really trying to sweat what the issues were and resolve them. It's a real credit to everybody for working so collaboratively. Any other comments before I go back to Councillor Aiken to close? Councillor Aiken.
Thank you, Mayor Asher, and thank council colleagues. Look, if there's any project that can be a partnership between the three tiers of government in Australia, this is it. This project will inject $67 million into the local economy in Norlane in particular. The business case stands up really well. It actually shows there'll be 600,000 visits to this particular facility across the suite of services that have been provided at this. And importantly, it will deliver $111 million preventative health benefits in its first 10 years of operation. At the present time, Barwon Health North is sitting there alone and has nothing else to be able to support to maximise the benefit for our community in the northern suburbs and the rest of Geelong. But with the development and the establishment of the Northern Aquatic and Community Hub in Norlane, it will give tremendous longer-term generational impact on that community, and it will assist the new growth and investment areas of Geelong as well too. And don't forget, this is infrastructure that is going to assist the Golden Plains community as well too. Teesdale and Bannockburn are crying out for some of this infrastructure as well too. And this is where it can actually be serviced and delivered from at the Norlane site area. And I commend the officers for all the work that they've done on this project. And I look forward to continuing lobbying and advocacy work with our state and federal colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor Aitken. On that excited note, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Okay, item 11 is tender 200060, provision of electrical services, to be moved by Councillor Aitken and seconded by Councillor Grisbeck. Councillor Aitken.
Look, I'll try my best to put as much excitement into this issue as the last one, Mayor Asher, but it is actually exciting for everybody. Look, this falls under the finance portfolio, which is why Councillor Grisbeck and myself are associated with it. This is actually Council's annual $2 million spend in electrical services, and over the life of the 3 years plus two 12-month options, 5 years, we'll spend a total of $10 million in the community. And what is really pleasing is that there are a total of 12 different vendors that actually put forward for this service area of council, and there was a total of 7 that have been picked. And let me just give you a bit of a rundown on each of those, Mayor Asher, to say why I'm excited about these providers. Most of them are actually local small businesses based in Geelong. So this actually shows we're not just talking about spending money in our local community, we're actually doing it with this recommendation tonight. And a good example is Q&A Electrical is based in North Geelong. Gordon McKay is based in South Geelong, and MMJ Electrical is based in Grovedale. So we are spending our money and matching our commitments to local procurement with the decision that's actually being endorsed tonight by the council. So I commend the officers and I commend those local small businesses that are forming part of this tendering team. And thank you very much for the work and effort that has been put into this. And I look forward to spending the community's money in these significant small businesses throughout the community, Mayor Asher.
Thank you, Councillor Aitken. Councillor Grisbeck.
I've got nothing further, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Would anybody else like to comment on this one? Go back to Councillor Aitken. Thank you, Councillor Aitken.
Nothing further to add, Mayor Asher.
No further excitement required. Okay, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 12 is the revocation of flood-prone area designation of new lots at Anchorage Estate, stages 4 to 6, to be moved by Councillor Nelson and seconded by Councillor Harwood. Councillor Manane must be having a night off tonight. Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thought I'd take this one off Councillor Manane, but I think he's done a few over the years, so it's good to share the love around. But this is a council has a statutory obligation to designate area that's liable to flooding, and conversely, council is now revoking that flood designation on Barwon Heads Road, 892 to 958 Barwon Heads Road in Armstrong Creek. And I don't have much more to say other than it's certainly a relief for those people that are building properties down there. I live in a flood zone myself, so I understand the implications to that, and certainly the financial implications with insurance and things like that. So this is good news for those people down there, those first home buyers or downsizers in Armstrong Creek. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Well said, Councillor Nelson. Councillor Harwood.
Thank you. Yeah, just very quickly again, it's just the reason they're coming through, predominantly through this area, obviously, is the high growth area and the number of houses being constructed. So it's a good barometer to see the growth of Geelong. So it's been articulated why we're doing this and the importance of it. So nothing more to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harwood. Good point. Okay, Councillor Nelson to close.
No one else wants to comment? I don't think so.
You said it so well.
No, so this water will be diverted into obviously the Sparrowvale wetlands. So it's an added benefit, for that area as well. So good for the residents, the new homeowners and downsizers, and also good for the environment as well.
Yep. Great. Okay, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 13 is a contractual matter for confidential, so may I please have a mover and a seconder to go hear this matter in confidential. Moved Councillor Harwood, seconded Councillor Mason. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 14 is also a confidential matter. May I have a mover and seconder to consider this matter in confidential? Moved Councillor Murray, seconded Councillor Mason. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 15, another contractual matter and confidential. May I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Manane, seconded Councillor Nelson. Thank you. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. And the item 16 is the Audit and Risk Committee summary report, also to be heard in confidential. So may I have a mover and seconder? Moved Councillor Grisbeck, seconded Councillor Mansfield. Thank you, Councillor Mansfield. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Okay, we get on to the exciting part of the evening, the notices of motion, section C. We have a notice of motion from Councillor Manane. This is a report regarding disadvantage and social problems in the Geelong region. Councillor Manane to move and Councillor Mansfield to second. Thank you, Councillor Manane.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe we've got an amendment to the motion. Would we be able to have that up, or could we read that out?
Unfortunately, I need to read it out, Councillor Manane. If you could read that out, and then we'll go back to hearing you, and your time won't start until you actually stop reading it out.
Okay, so I'm going to have to try and find that now.
Have you got it handy there?
No, I haven't. I just have to go back to.
Paperwork. We can't share screen, unfortunately, because that obliterates our view and we have to be in view. So otherwise we could just pop it on the screen. Great, thank you.
Okay.
Sounds like it's just arrived. Have you got it there, Councillor Manane?
Yes, I'm just about there.
Okay, great.
My apologies for the delay. Okay, so the recommendation now reads, acknowledges and continues the significant economic and social prosperity projects specifically targeting Corio, Norlane and Whittington that has been developed by Council under the program known as Vital Communities. 2, acknowledges the COVID-19 may have a municipal-wide impact on social disadvantage. Approve expenditure of up to $75,000 and request the Chief Executive Officer to report to Council by the 28th of February 2021 on 3.1, investigating what impacts COVID-19 has had on municipal-wide social disadvantages. 3.2, solutions that can be identified to address COVID-19 specific social disadvantages. And 3.3, identify opportunities to engage, partner and joint advocacy with key stakeholders including federal and state governments, local philanthropy and other key stakeholder groups. And I believe that's it.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Manane. So you can start your 5 minutes now.
Thank you. And thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you to my fellow councillors for their feedback on this matter and for contributing to my notice of motion with some amendments which we've just read. The additional comments added to this notice of motion surrounding Council's existing work through our Vital Communities program are actually very relevant. And in that they serve as a bit of a warning to us to ensure that we don't make some of the same mistakes of the past. And when we consider the suburbs that are the subject of the Vital Communities, Corio, Norlane and Whittington, it does give me reason to flash back some 40 or 50 years and wonder, did we actually recognise the emergence of the social inequities in different pockets of our community at that time when they first started to emerge? Did we really seek the detailed analysis of the root causes of these inequities and the consequence of the social problems they could develop? Did we call the community together to act as one in identifying and investing collaboratively in programs that provided solutions, not just investments that acted as maybe a band-aid that allowed these problems to fester on now for generations? If we called on the state and federal government for support, and I'm sure we did we have the necessary detailed analysis that would have been required for that support? And clearly, whilst there has been support, effort and programs in the past, clearly not to the magnitude that is required, otherwise we would now not be having the vital work of the Vital Communities program. What my notice of motion is before you this evening is requesting Council to carry out some detailed analysis of the effect of COVID-19 has had on our communities during 2020 and to identify the resultant social inequities that have been caused by those effects. I think this will be a very important piece of intelligence as we enter 2021. a year which is going to bring with it the highest level of unemployment rate that this country has seen for decades. And Geelong already has one of Australia's highest population growth rates, and with capital city residents looking for lower density living opportunities and coming our way, there is certainly going to be a lot of ongoing pressure on community facilities. We will not enjoy the communities that we want in the future just because we want them. We will need to plan for them. We will need to invest in them. We will need to ongoingly support them. That will be the way we will get the communities that we want. And we know that even before COVID-19, some of our communities were under pressure. We need to have a real good look at what that current situation is and what needs to be done about it. This is not a time for us to put our head in the sand and pretend that social inequities do not exist in our communities, or if they do, then miraculously somehow they're going to go away. That's not going to happen. We need to face up to reality, which I'm sure we're all prepared to do. In the next few years in Australia and in Geelong are going to be challenging for many of our residents, and this is a time for our leadership. And my notice of motion is for our council and the next council after us to start that leadership journey for our communities. The data collected will be invaluable for the next council in the formation of their budget responsibilities over the next 4 years. So I'm pushing and requesting my fellow councillors to get this report done, to have a look at our total municipality and to see what needs to be done in the future. I'll leave it there, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Manane. Councillor Mansfield.
I'll reserve my right, Mayor Asher.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on Councillor Manane's notice of motion? Councillor Harwood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to, endorse what Councillor Manane has put forward this evening, and I guess some of the rationale behind it about looking at different sectors of our community and then looking at it as a whole. It's often said that we're only as strong as the weakest part of our community, and we've identified certain areas that are disadvantaged, and what we need to do there to give them, the residents there, the same opportunities for education, for employment, for lifestyle that the whole region enjoys. I guess the intent of Councillor Manane's sort of work is along those lines, and I think that's important. At the grassroots level of local government, that we get to lead that, and then we need to ensure we take that clear message back to our state and federal colleagues to help, and also we are very lucky in Geelong. We have a strong philanthropic community who also contribute quite strongly, and we also have our organisations, Give Where You Live, Geelong Community Foundation, as well as others that also contribute as a whole. So I think it's a really good leadership shown by Councillor Manane on this particular topic, and he's also led strongly through food relief and homelessness discussions. So I think this is an extension of that, but I think it's our opportunity to get together collectively, bring it up to the forefront, get a detailed, independent report that tells us what we need to do, then take that into action. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harwood. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. I really applaud this move by Councillor Manane. Social inequity, we've been aware of it for many years, and it's been increasing. And social inequity can cause disruption and disarray in our civil society. We need to be fully aware of the root causes and the developing situation that will occur and is occurring through COVID-19. Councillor Manane used the word intelligence, information. We need as much information as possible to deal with this, and to pass it on to our federal and state colleagues as well, so that we can have a fully integrated approach to this chronic problem, which is emerging to be only a worse problem. So thank you, Councillor Manane, and everyone who's put work into this.
Thanks, Councillor Mason. Any other councillors want to talk about this one? I don't think there's anything to argue with this one. I think it's a good one. Councillor Aitken.
Thanks, Asha. Yeah, look, I too want to thank Councillor Manane's interest in this particular issue. Look, it's been actually a bit lonely for Kylie and I. For 2.5 years ago, we brought to the council a project which was about looking at an economic and social prosperity plan for our most in need areas of Geelong, and they were Corio, Norlane, and Whittington. And what we really were attempting to do, Kylie and I, 2.5 years ago, was to try to start to look at the public policy that existed in this particular area, and try and find ways at which we could realise this significantly underutilised asset, which is the communities of Corio, Norlane and Whittington. And out of that project and expenditure and officer support driven by the CEO over the last 2.5 years, we're slowly moving forward as a council in terms of recognition of this particular issue, and we have put it under the banner of vital communities. And I'm pleased with the first component and motion recommendation is that council acknowledges and continues that significant work about targeting towards Corio, Norlane and Whittington. The team is doing a power of work, and because this is actually significant generational change that's needed in those three particular areas. But what has been presented to us tonight is that COVID-19 is also making an impact for the broader community. And we should be looking to investigate what impact that is making on our broader community throughout Geelong. And this recommendation before us tonight gives that opportunity to do it. It endorses the significant work that's been undertaken over the last 2.5 years by the council, led by Kylie and myself, and the support that the administration has actually undertaken as well too under the vital communities. And it gives us a good focus and an opportunity for the future council to have a report come back to them in February about what impacts has COVID-19 made to the broader Geelong community. We understand our responsibilities in this particular area. No other council would be able to match what this council has done in the last 3 years in terms of trying to address social inequality that exists in the Geelong community. And I'm really proud to have been associated with this council over the last 3 years because of that. I'm looking forward that future reports and the commitments that this council has in this particular area of responsibility is maintained by the incoming council as well too. And I'm really looking forward to trying to address the economic and social prosperity of Corio, Norlane and Whittington, and also trying to see if there are significant issues associated with COVID-19 that can be addressed as well too by our state, federal and other support groups in the community.
Thank you, Councillor Aitken. Well timed and well said. Any other councillors want to comment on this one? If not, I'll go to Councillor Mansfield and then back to Councillor Manane. Thanks, Councillor Mansfield.
Thank you, Bear Asher, and thanks to my fellow councillors for their comments on this one. Thank you to Councillor Manane for putting this forward. I think as been discussed, this is really complementary to the Vital Communities program and work that's been undertaken, looking at longer term issues in specific areas of our community. This is looking at the impact of COVID, but the two things are, as I said, complementary. I think what COVID has done is really expose the cracks that were already there in our society. I think in a lot of ways weren't prepared for the impact of this through very long-term structural problems within our society that have led to very tenuous employment for many people, the casualisation of our workforce. We've got issues around our health systems, investment in our public health systems, and our public health responses, and we've seen that, aged care, mental health. We look at food security, housing, and all the social safety nets we've got. When something like this pandemic comes through, it really shows how fragile all those systems are and how much we have really underinvested and undervalued those things. I think other things that have been exposed are really big structural issues that are, our society has to grapple with. Structural racism, gender inequity, and a whole range of other inequities that have been exposed through COVID. So I think this is a really great initiative, but I suppose part of me wonders, what can we do at the local level to start to address some of these really big structural issues that COVID has exposed? Because until we address those, we won't get to the heart of a lot of what the inequality that we're talking about, both in vital communities and in what Councillor Murnane has put forward. I think this is an opportunity. We have an opportunity at the moment to start changing our thinking, to start looking at how we can rebuild. We can build back, we can rebuild better as a society, we can build more resilient communities, focus on what we can do at the local level to be self-sufficient and support one another, and really, I think, build some resilience within our communities. So I hope that this is the start of some great work, and I certainly will continue a lot of good work we've done, but we really need to start thinking differently about some of these big problems that drive inequality across the municipality before we're going to see any meaningful changes.
Thank you, Councillor Mansfield. Councillor Murnane to close.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to my fellow councillors for your words of wisdom. Thank you, Councillor Mansfield, for those additional perspective about the bigger picture. And yes, I really do think coordination at all levels is going to be enormously important to even tackle some of those, the magnitude of some of those matters that you raised. But having said that, there are things that we can do at this level, and I think if you're looking for evidence, you could probably look no further than some of our own projects that we've started in recent times, and I think the food relief is a really good one. Where we have now a situation where we've solved the issue of storage, we've solved the issue of capacity, and we've now got good engagement on the issue of distribution. So that $1.7 million is going to reap us great benefits, and how great an investment that is over the next 5 years. But yes, there are many, many other issues. For example, homelessness have doubled in our city just in the last 3 years, and we're well aware of a lot of other issues. But look, we're already in the game to a certain extent. We just need to get a better understanding of what the challenges are so that we can both invest and we can both advocate for. We need to meet those challenges head on and have a passion for contribution and a passion for success. We can do what we can do, but we also want to advocate to others to support our community. We are at the stage, I think, in Geelong and a lot of Australian communities that investment still makes a difference. And we don't want to get our communities to a stage where investment doesn't make a difference. And that is the case in many places around the world. We are very lucky that investment still makes a difference in this country, and that's where we want to stay. So thank you all. Back to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Murnane. We'll put this notice of the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Well done. Councillor Grisbeck has brought a draft You Yang's Precinct Master Plan notice of motion, a request for Parks Victoria to resolve community concerns. So, Councillor Grisbeck to move, and who will be seconding? Councillor Aitken. Thank you, Councillor Aitken. Councillor Grisbeck.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This notice of motion, as it is at the moment, recognises that council's a stakeholder in a process with Parks Victoria around the master plan for the You Yangs and Serendip areas. From an advocacy perspective, this is the only way that we have any say in this, and it's to balance the needs of the community and the stakeholders. And it's recognised that we as council should play a leadership role in raising some concerns that have been raised with me with Parks Victoria in an official capacity. And this notice of motion recommended that council raise these objections with Parks Victoria Board and Management by the Project Control Group, as well as requesting Parks Victoria to consider forming a community-based stakeholder reference group. The stakeholder reference group could consist of stakeholders and community members to resolve those community concerns relating to the feedback on the draft plan. Look, many community members have raised these issues with me, you know, to be factual, more than 20, many of who are concerned that we will lose that unique wildlife breeding program at Serendip. Many are concerned with the accommodation of whichever style that is considered at that spot will decimate some of the animal population. The noise concerns alone will ensure that Serendip will lose every reason why people visit it today. I think Parks Victoria has done a really good job. I think they took a lot of feedback on this plan, and I think it's unprecedented in terms of the feedback, and it just shows how passionate our community is. It's not necessarily progressed the way that we would have liked necessarily. I think some of the feedback that was given during the process has not actually made its way into the draft master plan. So, look, this document is one of the most significant master plans that the You Yangs and Serendip region will ever see. And this actual master plan seems to have neglected some of the wildlife conservation tourism that is very important part of what makes up the whole plan. I would like to thank many people in coming to me and asking for my help in terms of what the council can do, including those people, and I'll name just a few because I don't want to name them all. We'll be here all night. Roger Smith, Barry White, Mike Hellman, Frank Chelaford, Julia Ferguson, many, many others who have contacted me with their concerns. I think the parks have already seen that we need a further discussion and have already extended the community consultation by about 4 weeks. A stakeholder reference group should have community members on it, and that's why we do what we do. The community needs many voices to ensure that we'll get the right plan going forward. Just quickly, I'd like to also acknowledge the Wadawurrung traditional owners and other Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people who have had their say on this draft plan, and I hope we continue to engage with the Indigenous community. I've had a few members of that community advise me that they don't think we have done enough for many issues like wildlife conservation, and some even mentioned there was only one picture of an animal in the whole document, which is really interesting. The need for genuine cultural interactions that highlight and educate the community about the First Peoples of this land is really important. Thank you to our officer Brett Ince, who has been integral in helping us word this notice of motion to make sure that we've got the right balance of what council can do. Thanks to Park Victoria, they have done really hard work in getting this plan together, but we just need that further interaction with the community to make sure we can get the plan in tip-top shape. I would just quickly like to say Nyatni, thank you to my community for asking me to represent their views at council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Well said, Madam Deputy Grisbeck. Councillor Aitken.
Thank you very much, Mayor Asher, and thank you to my colleague and United Voice from the Northern Suburbs, Councillor Grisbeck. Look, first I want to congratulate Parks Victoria for actually initiating this project. The You Yangs are severely degraded, and in fact they're being destroyed by bone seed, and they need significant investment in them to be able to fix what is a significant open space and flora and fauna part in the northern suburbs. And Serendip as well too needs some TLC. So the original proposition of why Parks Victoria actually started this process should be commended, and I encourage the state government to continue investigate how they can invest in these two significant assets in the northern suburbs and of regional significance as well too. But what the master plan doesn't do, and what the community is actually telling us, is that where does Serendip fit? Is it a Parks Victoria asset, or is it a zoological asset, or is a hybrid of these assets? And the master plan needs to be able to address some of those concerns that are being brought forward. It also it addresses and involves the Indigenous community, but they're telling Kylie and I that they want further consultation and a more significant consultation, which actually shows that they have been heard by the master plan reflecting that. It also, the local community custodians of Serendip and the Yuyangs are both contacting Kylie and I, advising us that they don't believe they have been heard by Parks Victoria. And importantly, our tourism sector, both the domestic and international representatives have made contact with Kylie and I understand Councillor Mansfield as well too, to actually express that they feel slightly let down by the draft master plan because it doesn't give a clear ambition and understanding of how these assets play an important role in the sustainable tourism opportunities that exist at these site locations. So I think this particular recommendation before Council is the appropriate one. It actually does give those members of the community that we represent confidence that we understand what they're actually asking for. And I think it also expresses to Parks Victoria that we would like to help influence a better outcome with this particular master plan, and hope that we are listened to as a significant stakeholder in this particular project. And I too thank Councillor Gresbeck for her leadership on this particular issue. We've got a fantastic community out in the northern suburbs, in particular around the Lara and rural areas around the Yuyangs and Serendip. They have led the community on this, and we've heard them, and this is a reflection of the recommendation that's been put before Council tonight.
Well done. Thank you, Councillor Aitken, and well timed again. Any other councillors like to comment on this notice of motion? Councillor Mansfield, then Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. Look, I'd just like to thank Councillors Grisbeck and Aitken for putting up this notice of motion. As has been mentioned, I too have heard some concerns from the community about this. I really support everything that's been said. This, Parks Victoria should be congratulated on the work that they've done here. I understand as well that, these are difficult processes and there are a lot of constraints around what can ultimately be delivered, but the community is so invested already in this area. They've, been they have looked after this area and preserved it and, done some amazing things with it. Serendip is such a beautiful asset for us to have in this region. I can really understand why they're passionate about making sure we get this master plan right. This notice of motion, I think, as has been said, gets the balance right there about what we can do as a council. But what we're really asking for is that the community has more. There's an opportunity for more engagement, that they're given more voice in this project, so it can be improved further on what's already been presented. And I think what's at stake here is really. It can't really be underestimated. Serendip, and in particular the wildlife there, once that's gone, you can't get it back. You can't get things like that back. And we are, experiencing biodiversity loss at such a rapid rate all across the world, but we see it in our own municipality. So where we've got really special areas like Serendip, we should be doing everything we can to try and support and protect them, and support those whose communities and livelihoods also depend on that. So and whose cultural who have cultural significance around that. So I think we should be protecting that space as best we can. Hopefully this is a mechanism that will lead towards that, but at the very least it should give the community a greater say in what happens to that area. So thanks once again to the Northern councillors for their work on this one.
Great, thanks Councillor Mansfield. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mayor Asher, and thank you everybody for the initiatives that have been behind this, and we're really grateful that Parks Victoria have also taken a lead on all of this. But the sad truth is that Australian native wildlife's been almost wiped out. Very few people even know how to identify any particular wildlife. It's usually in a picture book. It's not there to be seen anymore, often enough. And so in unity there's strength, and so the community it's really important to have the community involved in this, and everybody should be working together to get a better outcome. And the sad truth is, even though there is a wonderful master plan for the Yuyangs, or an embryonic one that will be a wonderful one, the Yuyangs are a disgrace. They've really degraded, and the fundamental reason is there's been not enough resources to go into it. And so, even with the best of intentions of Parks Vic, there really needs to be a lot more money going into all of this. And so, in unity is strength is how I started, and that's the way we've all got to be together on this, including Parks Vic. They cry poor too, and we need a lot more resources to go into not only the Yuyangs, but this is the subject tonight. And the Yuyangs are a disgrace at the moment. And let's hope we can really redeem this situation.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. Any other councillors wish to comment on this one? Back to Councillor Grisbeck to close.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I hope my internet doesn't fall out in the middle of this. So just in closing, I think that there are more than 300 identified cultural places of significance within these precincts. We need that cultural heritage value part of this plan. We need to do, in the plan needs to be an opportunity for work to be done about where the animals get their food, where they rest and where they travel. How do having things in that park like accommodation, how does that affect what their habitat will look like? I think one of the things that I'm really concerned about is the eastern barred bandicoot, and I've done a lot of research in the last, 4 or 5 weeks, making sure that I know what I'm talking about. But this breeding program that's currently run at Serendip, and I think that's at risk with the current master plan that we have in front of us now. So I look forward to Parks Victoria taking on our feedback and working with the community, and I really thank them for this start of this process. It's just that we need this final piece in place. And as I said, I'd like to thank the officers, and especially Brett Ince for his work with us in relation to this. And I'd like to also thank very much the community for giving us this feedback. And this is what we're trying to do, making sure that, the people of our community are really strong, and we always have our say in relation to that, and they want to make sure that we get it right, because this is probably one in a 20-year opportunity. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Grisbeck. Well said, well done. We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Well done, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Nelson's also got a notice of motion. This is for the heightened pipe track behind Tim Hill Reserve, dogs off leash. So this will be moved by Councillor Nelson and seconded by Councillor Harwood. Thank you, Councillor Harwood. Okay, Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Certainly not as sexy as the previous 2 notices of motion, but, it's one of the 127 services that we do. So just a bit of background for my fellow councillors who don't live in or around Highton area. There's 2 reservoirs, one at the top of Scenic Road and another one down at the bottom of what used to be the end of Thornhill Road. It's now Basin Rise. And in between, obviously, the pipes have got to go through there. And they've always been a good place for people to walk their dogs off leash, because they're bounded by fences at either end and houses on each side. So they're a good place to walk your dog off lead. And in 2017, Bar and Water transferred the ownership, or the maintenance, I should say, to City of Greater Geelong, with the proviso that it remain off leash. Subsequently, in 2018, City of Greater Geelong mandated that all areas for dog walking be on leash unless otherwise specified, which created a problem here for this particular area. So recently, it was made public to me, or made known to me through many text messages, phone calls, and on socials as well, that council had gone down and inadvertently put up on leash only for this particular area, which has certainly upset quite a few people. So what I'm asking for is just some community consultation to find out if that's what the community really want. If it is, that's fine, we'll give it to them, and a report to come back to the next council. So I'm not asking for any money or anything like that. I just want my community to be heard, and for this area to be, whether it's off lease or on lease, the community has their say. So that's all I'm asking for, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. Councillor Harwood.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. A fairly straightforward request, just seeking that community feedback on an issue that I think has gained more notoriety in recent times about dogs on lead, off lead, times, locations. So whatever decision we seem to make, we can't satisfy everybody, but I think we at least have the consultation, at least hear everybody, and then try and, I guess, weld that into the end result and try and get the best result we can. And bearing in mind, this is also for the pets themselves to have the capacity to have their run, their daily run or weekly run, whatever it might be. They also get their exercise and their social activity as well with other dogs, and that is as important. And people wandering around who love their pets get that sort of outing and that social outing that does often come with that. So we'll see what they've got to say, and hopefully we'll make a decision that is the right one and makes everybody happy, and that would be a miracle. So we'll see how we go.
It's a very good point, Councillor Harwood. Are there any other comments or questions even for Councillor Nelson? No other comments on this one? Okay, I think the floor is yours again, Councillor Nelson.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Just in closing, I just want to thank Councillor Harwood as a dog owner himself. He understands that the dogs need to get out and run, and they can't do that on the footpath. They can't do that on the road, and some parks are even a little troublesome as well. So this is a really good space for residents to have their dogs off leash. But as Councillor Harwood said, you can't please everyone because the path is also used by cyclists and walkers alike. So we'll see what the community has to say, and the new council will decide on that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Nelson. We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Okay, so we're into section D, which is the Assembly of Council. May I please have a mover and seconder for the Assembly of Council? I think it will be moved by Councillor Harwood, seconded Councillor Mansfield. Thank you. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. And section E, do we want to talk to those? Sorry, I probably should have had a chat about that. We don't need to talk to those. Planning delegations. We have a mover and seconder for the planning delegations. Moved Councillor Sullivan, seconded Councillor Mason. Thank you, Councillor Mason. Okay, all those in favour? Those against? Carried. Okay, we now need to move into confidential to discuss those 4 items. May I please have a mover and seconder to close the meeting to the public? Moved Councillor Nelson, seconded Councillor Manane. Thank you, Councillor Manane. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Okay, that's the end of this meeting. Thank you for tuning in, and farewell until the next council.